Hey, you've arrived at the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 95, Positional Targets, Part 12, Team. Hate allergies. Everything I'm trying to do is help you win your fantasy football drafts. We're looking at targeting and going to look team by team. So we're going to get, it may be redundant, but it's important enough to go through this again. So let me show you what I'm going to be presenting here in the next 10 slides here, 9 slides. Would be this. What we're seeing is the uh, scaled usage of the team, and it can be as high as 20% versus the league, which would be fantastic, versus minus 20% below the league average. That would be a disaster. And I'm going to go team by team for us to look at the running back usage with the red bars up or down. So above the zero line here is above the league average, and below is below the league average, right? And at some point, you need to, as we go through all 32 teams, to me, I think, let's say plus or minus 5%. It's like, I look for things that are much more dramatic if I'm going to make some hard decisions here. And I think you can see what I mean here. The yellow bars are tight ends, and the blue is wide receiver usage. So let's focus team by team, have a thumbnail look. And as we look at Arizona, it's pretty clear we don't want to be drafting tight ends. We do want to be using wide receivers, and running backs we pretty much not adding or taking away from any kind of draft consideration here. In other words, we'll need to look for other data lines to make some decisions there. Atlanta, we see a little bit lower running back usage, but nothing so dramatic. Tight end has been low as well, close to 5%. So I do know, of course, they drafted the supposed best tight end ever, Pitts, and they also has Hurst there. So I think if you're looking for an early streamer, Hurst might be one to have as Pitts is learning the ropes here. And I think wide receiver usage is where Atlanta is doing its thing. It's about 5% above league average, so that's pretty good. We should take that into strong consideration. Baltimore, and this is over the last 5-6 years. I forgot the scale. I think it's 6 years. Anyway, Baltimore. I know people are all on Dobbins. All I can tell you is the team does not run their running backs as far as usage above league average. It's actually close to 4% below. So that's never encouraging there. The tight end has been of use in the past, and it's above the 5% level. So, Andrews does get my attention. And wide receivers have been a poor bet in Baltimore compared to others in the league. So I have concerns about any kind of depth with running backs or wide receivers in Baltimore, and I think tight ends. Andrews is fine, is a fine play. Buffalo is way below league average in running backs, and tight end is getting close to disaster, almost minus 10%, about 9% below. That's not good. So Buffalo is probably going to make its living in 2021. High flying pass, and look at that, almost 15%. So it's going to be an aerial circus there. I think you ought to draft long, hard, and deep into Buffalo here and collect, multiples from that team there, especially things like best ball and whatnot. Certainly Diggs is well worth his WR1 status here, being on a team that proceeds like this. Okay, so that is the first four. So now you get a feel for how I think about this. So I try to, go through this and kind of this is the kind of things I think I need to commit to memory here. So I would urge my students to, memorize these notes here, especially in a time draft. That's why I don't use time draft, because I like to use slow drafts so I can make good decisions uh, versus fast drafts where you think too quick and your type 1 thinking and your knee-jerk reaction and you're like, I shouldn't have drafted that one. So, let the others squawk about how fast they are. That's good. Uh, uh, yeah, let them stack up the clown car. You collect the prize. Here's all I say. Let's continue here. Next for Carolina. Forget the tight end. Running back's okay with Christian McCaffrey. It's not the highest in the league, but it's certainly above average. And wide receivers, so there's some depth to be had, I think. And I think the young rookie's starting to flash a little bit. Was it Marshall? So, keep your eyes there, and maybe worth some depth in drafting there. Chicago is not using their running backs well. It's about 5% below. So I know Montgomery did well, but just be aware of that tendency. Chicago thinks it wants to do something else. Tight ends and wide receivers are, near average, a little bit above. I wish Chicago used their wide receivers more when I'm drafting Robinson here. I know people are squawking about Cole Kmet, but I'd like to see that yellow box higher than 2-3%. Cincinnati running backs are a little below average. Tight ends, forget about it. And it's like Buffalo a lot. Cincinnati, it's funny, you can start seeing team tendencies and you can start seeing teams that remind you of each other. And Cincinnati reminds me of the Buffalo here. It's it's all wide receivers, certainly above 5%, close to what, 8. So there's some depth that can be had there. Not as deep as Buffalo, but depth. Cleveland loves its tight ends. I know they do fairly well with Hunt and Chubb, but a little bit below average. And again, this is targets, right? So this is targeting, not necessarily rushing. We're not measuring attempts here. But they're not going to make their living out of passing there to their running backs compared to others in the league. Just remember, traditionally, Cleveland loves its tight ends, and Hooper is going way late. So I think he is definitely a best ball target. He is your third or second tight end here. and definitely a streaming option here if you end up going that way, and could surprise on occasion in daily fantasy sports. So that's the kind of thing that may not help you every week, but if you play daily fantasy sports, there you go. You know, people are looking elsewhere and they might surprise under the right conditions. Wide receivers, you would think with the good wide receivers they have, they would do better, but they don't. It's below 5%. What about 7, 8? That, you know, I know Landry and OBJ, but I imagine if they were on Cincinnati, what they would be doing, or Carolina, or Buffalo. So they're kind of. I know they'll get some targets, no doubt, but it's the tendency is not there. It's not. In other words, the wind's not blowing favorably for them to really excel. So just be aware of that. Definitely not worth reaching for Landry or OBJ. You know, if they fall too far, certainly grab them, but just be aware. Next four, we have Dallas. Running backs about average. Tight ends a little below average. So I think the tight ends are going later, but you know, it is what it is. Wide receivers, it's about 4%, almost 5, so it's going to be a circus there uh, with the three wide receivers they have. Those guys could really do well, at least two of them. It may be, you know, injuries and whatnot may determine which of the two. Denver's running backs is blah blah. Is calls for concern as far as passing wise, so they don't are not supported in a PPR as well as we would like. Noah Fant, look at the win behind him. Look at that. That is nice. Fant has definitely been one of my targets here. I think he has potential to be in the top 5 tight ends if things go right here. Wide receivers have been near average, below average, so there's some good ones there, but I really wish that box was above versus below. So the only thing that really got me going was the tight end. Detroit loves its passing running backs. I think Jamal Williams has an opportunity, folks. Okay, people are, I know, looking at Swift, but don't forget Williams here. He likes to pass catch. Tight end Hawkinson, there's a little bit of wind behind his sails. The concern for me, especially this year, is the wide receivers. Who's the 1, 2, and 3? And you're thinking, you don't know. Well, the public has picked, you know, it may change, but it's below 5%. So that's not good. Whoever you pick, it's going to be late drafting kind of it's going to be a hope for pick. Okay. Green Bay in recent years loves rushing. Isn't that funny? You think, with Adams, maybe the best wide receiver out there, they're rushing with Jones and was it Dillon? And I think who's the Kyril something? I don't know. There's a third one there. I think having a handcuff might pay some dividends, especially in best ball besides Aaron Jones. Tight ends is like, and wide receivers. I wouldn't go to, this tells me don't go so deep. And if you look at the ADPs, other than Adams, is it, who's the next, who's the wide receiver 2 for Green Bay? Okay, Lazard, MVS, somebody else? Is it the new kid? I don't know. Just be aware of that. Houston doesn't like to pass. That's too bad for David Johnson there. They brought Lindsey in, but on a team, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and their tight end is below average as well. Houston likes to throw it to the wide receivers, so Cooks may and Miller may be a bargain here. Just keep your eyes open. I've taken in best ball Cooks, and he could surprise. He could pay more than you're paying for him, right? So we call that an overlay. Indianapolis, they love Nakeem Hines and passing out of the backfield. Look at that. And they love their tight ends, definitely above average. But Cox and Doyle are, tight end 2-3 types. They could be used in a streaming daily fantasy sports situation there. Could surprise people like Hooper and, Cleveland there. Another surprise situation. The concern is who is the wide receiver one? Is it Pittman? Hilton? Who knows? Okay. Campbell? Probably Pittman, but it might be Hilton. But regardless, look at that. Minus 8% below average. So unless something happens, the wide receivers tend not to have things going their way. Doesn't mean they can't collect points. It's just they're going against the wind, against the trends. Jacksonville, their wide receivers are about it. Running backs a little bit above average, and tight ends, forget about it. Okay. The running backs, I would love to see that closer to 5%. I know people are, are they Chenault or Marvin Jones? Who's the one? And the debate for me would be a lot better if they would use their wide receivers more. And that concerns me, especially with the potential rookie quarterback. Not sure I want a taste of that too much, too deep. Kansas City loves Kelsey, right? Their running backs are and they're other than Tyreek Hill, who's the number 2? Hardman? I don't know. But they're really dependent on the one show here. It's almost 5%. So other than Kelsey, just be aware whoever else. I know Hill's good, no doubt. But after him, who's, So be aware there's just the wind's not blowing in those positions direction on Kansas City. The Chargers, they love passing, and hopefully Eckler's back, and he is definitely a late running back one. If he can stay healthy, there is that trend in this team to support him, so that's good. Jared Cook could be a red zone star. Okay, it's just I don't know the rest of the yardage, deeper in non-red zone area, how much he's going to be used, but he could be a streaming type. Keenan Allen, but who's next? I know everybody talks about Williams, but there's just not that trend. It's minus 4%, not good. I would love to see that completely flipped here. The Raiders, boy, they don't use their running backs at all to pass to. So that sure hampers Jacobs and Drake in, Henderson, and who is the next one there? I don't know. Whoever it is. Concerns. Tight ends. I think Everett could actually has a little bit going, not just a great amount. Love to see that 5%. Wide receivers are where the Rams make their living. Okay, kind of like Cincinnati and Buffalo there. So Woods and Cooper Kupp, here we go. You can see 5% above average. Raiders love to pass to Jacobs and I guess Drake, and they love Waller. Look at that. The winds blow favorably. Look at their wide receivers. Like, who's the one? Do we care? Look at that. So what is that? Minus 13%. That is so sucky. Folks, that is sucky. I'm not only in best ball wide receiver 6 or 7 would I consider any kind of Las Vegas wide receivers seriously. It'd be deep. Miami doesn't like to throw to Gaskins here, below average. They love Gesicki though. He's kind of Miami looks a lot like Kansas City. Uh, I'm taking Gesicki. I think he could surprise as well, and he'll get his due. I think. I really do. Really think so. Okay. What else? Let's go. Minnesota. Average running backs. So Cook runs. He catches passes. It's average. Love to see that above average. Uh, People are thinking Irv Smith, and the reason is there is that trend. Minnesota loves that tight end. I would like to see that higher, though. Irv Smith is still being taken later than you might think. He could surprise. Wide receivers. I know we got Jefferson and Thielen, but again, they're good, but I wouldn't go too deep past them. There's nothing that's, putting wind in their sails, let me say. New England loves James White. Look at that. Loves their tight ends if they can have one. Now they got 2. So when in doubt, let's just really cut the throat of fantasy players, right? Let's give them 2 uh, tight ends to play with here. So good luck picking the one for the week. Uh, in best ball, if you could grab both, it might be worth your play. Not sure you want to play that, but anyway, I'm just saying. If you can pick the right on daily fantasy sports, there's some, momentum there. Wide receivers, look at that. That's sucky. Cam is not supporting a big, deep wide receiver crew, and I don't know who's going to be the number one. Not sure they know. Be aware. Be cautious. New Orleans love Kamara. In fact, they make their living. Look, 10%. Kamara all day and Murray if he can catch. Here we go. Tight end. Everybody's talking Troutman. Well, look at that. -7%. He's going against team trends. So I'm not taking him much. Okay. I know Thomas is there, but is he hurt? Does he want to play? Who knows? That certainly doesn't help you when you see the trend is not to, use their wide receivers like they should. So that really makes me down on the whole crew, I guess. Some of the deeper ones. Callaway, maybe people are starting to like him. I don't know. Good luck. The Giants, Barkley was hurt. I don't know. I would love to see that positive, not below average. He's dropped from like the number 3 all the way. He's almost early second round. There's injury, and then they're talking about they're not going to really up his play until 2 or 3 games in. Uh, Ingram, the tight end, should have the momentum, but people are off him. I don't know. I'm taking him late as a solid tight end 2 type in best ball and a streamer type strictly because of that trend. Wide receiver, I know Galladay, but look at this. Galladay's coming into a team that doesn't use its wide receivers like they should in the league. So that certainly takes luster off his shine, and Shepard and Slayton. So I don't know. Be cautious in drafting those guys. The Jets tight ends are it's pitiful. I would not draft. Uh, Now, I will say this. I've done the defense against the positions, and the Jets tight end actually has a nice, predicted nice season ahead. But the past trends, so that's sometimes you have data that says something one direction, then you have another piece of data that says something else. That's why, this is a hard game, right? It is uncertain. You have conflicting pieces of data. I'm sorry. You just have to learn to deal with that. Jets is a high flying team, and they're going to be throwing their wide receivers, Crowder and whoever else is going to be in there, and you can pick some of those guys up late. I really like that trend there. So I think people are missing that trend. So I'm liking that. Philadelphia loves its tight ends. They kept two, Goddard and Ertz. So there you go. Good trend. But now we got two to split like New England. Uh, Damn, I wish they got rid of Ertz, but here we go. So definitely, each one is in play every week. Again, in best ball, if you can grab both of them, I guess you got it covered, but that may be a waste of a slot. Their running backs below average, and the wide receivers is definitely, into the concern territory there. Be aware, Rager, and I don't know who else is going to be there. That is of concern. Pittsburgh's is going to be uh, Cincinnati, Buffalo. We're going to be flying high. Okay, they got three players, and even Washington's the fourth there all day, all night. Big Ben's going to pass. I don't know why he's a quarterback being drafted so late. I think he's going to surprise you. I think he'll be a potential bottom end quarterback one type. In Superflex, he would definitely be my quarterback two guy all day as long as I could draft him. Concerns about the tight end and the running backs there. Be aware. Even Harris, everybody's saying, well, he might be a good rusher, but they don't like to pass out of the backfield. So Harris is going to have to make his living rushing probably more than catching passes. Seattle is near average, but they underused their running backs. Carson being catching there. So I don't know. And the tight ends are, and the running back, the wide receiver, about average. So Wilson is being so wasted in Seattle here, wasting prime time. I wish they do something for him, but this is about as average and vanilla of a pattern as you can see. Okay, the last four, San Francisco, it's their running backs all day long. Tight ends, Kittle's been hurt, so he's about average. So maybe, the trend will help him and he'll do better. Just be aware. It's kind of an average trend for him. The running backs, they have a whole platoon. Who's going to get it? I don't know. Whoever does is going to be running with the wind as far as out of the backfield catching targets. Wide receivers, they underutilize them. Be cautious. Everybody always talks every year, and here we go. Look at this trend. Brady won a Super Bowl with this kind of vanilla situation. He can spread it out and do what needs to be done. He is a game manager. And a little bit to the running backs, a little bit to the tight ends, and a little bit below average on the wide receivers. But overall, that's why Wilson is in. He has a vanilla kind of situation, and he makes the best of it. Brady's another one, makes the best of it. Tennessee, Henry, they don't pass to him, do they? Nope. So, I don't know who's going to be the pass catcher out of the backfield, but it probably not going to be Henry. Too bad. If they could do and make that up, Henry would be the number one in 2021. But that's not the case. Be aware of that. Fisker is being lowly drafted. He's a good tight end 2 streamer, and I'm drafted as my tight end 2, and in best ball as a tight end 2. Wide receivers, they got Julio, and Julio is good. And A.J. Brown is good, but they cut each other's throats. I would love to see that box higher. And finally, Washington is running backs passing to them all day, all night. Logan Thomas, I wish he was more. He's a late tight end 1, and they're Scary Terry. Look he's done with, what's that, -8-9%. So I don't know. I mean, they brought in Samuel to try to reverse that trend. We'll see. So at least now we have a snapshot. And then, like I said, this is not the end of the story. This is just for you to consider what's going to happen in 2021. This is not the end, okay? This is just the reference that we have to start from, okay? So, but you've got to start somewhere, right? Everybody, well, I don't worry about last year. Well, where are you going to start then if you don't worry about years before? I'm telling you that you start there. Doesn't mean you end there. You see, they confuse, oh, well, this happened in 2020, so therefore I'm locked into doing exact. No, you're not. Okay, dear pundits, you're not locked in. But you need to be aware of what's gone on before so you can then determine with everything going on what might happen. Is it going to change? Is it going to be the same? That's how you consider making decisions under uncertainty. Okay? Regardless of what you say, you're uncertain as I am. It's just I have a process to try to deal with that. And I know that I won't ever know the true probabilities. At best, I just have a place to start from. And if you don't use this kind of method, then I think you're in a deeper ditch than you perceive. Okay, I don't know if I got anything else. No, that's it. Okay, come back. We're having lots of fun here. And I would listen this a couple times from a draft. But this is my process. Maybe it can be yours. Good luck. Come back. More stuff.